Pause for a moment and reflect on this. How often have you felt that the world ignores you, that your voice lacks significance, and that your boundaries are disregarded as if they didn't exist? This is not a coincidence or an error, but rather the outcome of something much deeper. You have been conditioned to be weak, shaped to obey, and programmed not to cause any inconvenience. If you don't awaken and break free from this mold, you will remain in the same situation, waiting for respect from people who will never give it to you. Most people live like this, trapped in a script written by others. They excessively justify themselves, apologize for everything, and seek understanding where they only receive disdain. Perhaps you identify with these scenarios, having given your time and energy to those who didn't deserve it, trying to justify yourself to those who wouldn't stop to comprehend you. This is the pain, the common enemy, a system that educates you to be docile, predictable, and easy to control. However, there's something you were never told. Centuries ago, a man deciphered the true nature of power, dissecting it without masks, adornments, or pleasant lies. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli. The respect is not begged, it's imposed. Force is not negotiated, it's built. When you understand these rules, you are no longer a victim of the game, you become the player. Today, we're going to delve into Machiavelli to bring his principles into your life, mind, and transformation. Although you transform your inner self, you will still face criticism, disappointment, and external shocks. This is where the second major lesson comes in, building mental fortitude. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. A criticism can destroy them, a rejection can paralyze them, and a setback can make them doubt their worth. They are like sandcastles, the first wave can demolish them. Machiavelli cautioned that a wise man acts in the present to shape the future. The key is to process emotions as data, not as chains that bind. Anger is no longer a poison, but information that someone has crossed your boundaries. Pain is not a punishment, but a revelation of who that person really is. Fear is not an obstacle, but a signal that you are about to grow. A strong mind does not react impulsively, it responds with strategy. When someone criticizes you, you do not take it as a personal attack, but as a reflection of their shortcomings. When someone fails you, you are not naively surprised. You confirm what you already suspected, that most people act in their own interest. And when someone tries to manipulate you, you do not see it as a sign of your weakness, but as a sign of their desperation. Consider the difference. A fragile person seeks excuses for the mistreatment they receive, justifies disappointments, and crumbles with each setback. The person who builds mental fortitude becomes impenetrable, not because they do not feel, but because they are not governed by their feelings. Their emotions become data for a larger strategy. This is the beginning of your transformation. You have seen how the first step is to starve your insecure self and strengthen the one that commands respect. You have seen how the second step is to build a wall in your mind so that nothing external can knock you down. And here is the crucial part. Once you open your eyes to these truths, you can no longer close them. Once you understand how power works, you can no longer be naive, and what comes next can change everything. You have understood that respect is not begged for and that your mind will not be pulled by the strings of others. Now it is time to take a step that scares many. Learning to be silent with intention is not muteness, it is not cowardice, it is mastery. Strategic silence is an invisible declaration. You do not owe anyone explanations. When you stop justifying every decision, when you cut back on the need to be understood, your presence gains density. People begin to measure their words before speaking to you. Why? Because noise is cheap, silence is not. Noise is within everyone's reach, but silence demands self-control. Think about it. The one who shouts needs to convince, the one who interrupts needs to distract, and the one who overflows with arguments needs validation. Your worth does not depend on the other person understanding it. Your standard does not need a footnote. Your limit does not require a rehearsal. Machiavelli hinted at this rule with a simple truth: appearances weigh more than speeches. If people see that you do not fall apart to please them, they assume you know what you are doing. And when they assume you know what you are doing, they treat you accordingly. Silence is not passivity, it is focus. Silence cuts out the excess, revealing what is essential. You observe first, then you decide. If you are provoked, you do not react reflexively. You pause. You look at the pattern. You ask yourself in your mind, what would I gain by speaking now? What would I lose? Most people speak to alleviate anxiety. You do not alleviate anxiety, you govern direction. And when you speak, every word counts. You do not fill minutes, you put impact. A short sentence, a clear instruction, a no without embellishments, nothing more. Here, an effect appears that you may not expect. When you renounce explaining yourself, the other person reveals their true face. If they insist, you see their hunger for control. If they get angry, you see their habit of dominating with guilt. If they walk away, you see that their presence depended on your submission. Silence is a filter. It saves you from endless negotiations, from debates that lead to nothing, from the theater, making you unbreakable. Someone who doesn't justify themselves, doesn't break, and doesn't ask for permission. You become someone who can't be stopped. Within you, two versions exist. An insecure one that apologizes for taking up space, bends to criticism, and wants to please everyone, and another that doesn't apologize for existing, inspires respect without asking, and sets boundaries without needing explanations. The insecure voice has been nurtured since you were a child, but the other version has been silently waiting for you to nourish it. March to transform your inner self, as every time you choose to please someone unworthy of your time, you strengthen your insecure self. Every time you justify your limits, you teach people that they are worthless. However, when you choose respect over sympathy and prefer firmness over approval, you are feeding your secure self. This isn't about violence. It's strategy, letting your weak version starve and nourishing the strong one. It's about recognizing when the insecure voice speaks within you and choosing to ignore it, understanding that this internal battle is one you decide every day. And if you don't fight it, the world will fight it for you, and you will lose. But changing your internal dialogue isn't enough. You must also take action and embody the change you wish to see, making your presence felt and your voice heard. And when you do, people will notice the change in you, and you will become unrecognizable even to yourself. Upon reflection, it becomes evident that this filter alters the dynamics of your interactions, liberating you from an undue burden. There is an additional advantage to this approach. The strategic use of silence shields you from your own instinct to rectify every situation. How often have you compromised a solid position by divulging too much information? Numerous opportunities have been lost because you revealed your strategy to the wrong individuals. People tend to respect what they cannot control. If they are unable to anticipate your next move, they are more likely to hesitate before launching a blind attack. Your hermetic approach forces others to expend energy in speculation. While they are guessing, you continue to make progress. It is essential to distinguish between silence and vacuous coldness. Your silence serves a purpose, as you utilize it to refrain from relinquishing power unnecessarily. You employ it to eliminate unnecessary noise and act with precision, reserving your attention for matters that truly count. A serene no is more potent than 1,000 justifications. A clear, calmly maintained boundary is more valuable than a brilliant argument. Learning to allow the echo to work in your favor is crucial, and there is more to it. Silence prepares you for the next lesson, converting disappointments into strength, as, whether you like it or not, you will be let down. Not once, but on multiple occasions, promises will be broken, loyalties will evaporate, and fine words will reveal their true cost when confronted with reality. Most people are shattered by such experiences. You, however, anticipate the test, not with cynicism, but with lucidity. You do not expect people to be perfect. Instead, you observe their consistency when it is least convenient for them. The notion that individuals are motivated by self-interest is not a moral condemnation, but a map. If you assume that everyone protects their own interests, you will prepare accordingly, designing your projects in a way that they are not dependent on a single entity. You will not place your future in the capricious will of someone else. And when disappointment arrives, as it inevitably does, you will not feel betrayed by the universe. You will simply update your map, converting disappointment into valuable data. This is what a person with a clear understanding does under pressure, a valuable insight. Although it comes at a cost, it saves you from much greater losses. Another crucial aspect to remember is that disappointment can also be a sign that you are growing. No one attempts to take advantage of someone who has nothing to offer. No one betrays someone who is already defeated. The blow strikes when you are already valuable. It hurts, yes, but the pain also tells you that you are on the right path. Instead of allowing the wound to enclose you, use it to elevate your standards. Those who enter your life will know what to expect, and those who fail will not return. Without dramatic explanations, without scenes, without lists of complaints, the matter is settled. If you have chosen to strengthen your inner self and shield your mind thus far, it is now time to activate a powerful tool that most people undervalue due to a lack of understanding: silence. I am not referring to remaining silent out of fear, but to being silent as a manifestation of power. When you cease to justify yourself, something in the atmosphere changes. Individuals who previously demanded explanations begin to measure their words. Those who sought to pressure you with last-minute urgencies notice that they no longer elicit a reaction. Strategically employed silence is a wall that shows no cracks, forcing the other party to reflect on themselves. A weak mind seeks to fill every pause because it fears what silence reveals, that it is not necessary to convince anyone. When you remain silent in a strategic manner, you are telling the world, I decide the pace, I decide the topic, I decide when to speak. The perception is power, and silence molds perception like few other things. If you provide fewer explanations, you deliver fewer pieces for others to construct a counterattack. If you respond calmly, you cause the other person to listen to themselves and stumble upon their own anxiety. Consider dynamics that you may be familiar with: inquisitive questions disguised as interest. And why did you do that? Don't you think you should? This is where most people become entangled and fall into the trap of justifying every detail. You, on the other hand, learn to use brief, closed, non-negotiable phrases. That's fine by me. I won't participate in that. No. Just 3 letters. The silence following a no is worth more than 1,000 speeches. And that is when you will be truly unstoppable. You don't defend yourself, you don't attack, you don't negotiate your limits, you present them. And here comes the twist that changes everything. Silence not only protects you, it also makes you unpredictable. Whoever can't read you respects you. Whoever is unaware of your next moves gives you space. Whoever was used to getting a reaction from you becomes uneasy when they don't get one. That unease is your advantage. It gives you time, it gives you ground, it gives you authority. And in authority, as the harshest lessons of power teach, whoever imposes their time wins. Reaching this point already sets you apart from the rest. Not everyone has the discipline to listen, absorb, and commit to their transformation. You do. Silence shouldn't be confused with absence. Strategic silence is contained presence. It occupies the room without making a noise. You observe more than you speak. When you decide to speak, every word has a purpose. You set a condition, mark a limit, or announce a decision. No therapeutic speeches for people who haven't earned them. No instruction manuals for respecting your standards. Your standards aren't explained, they are shown. And if you stumble, you don't rush to clarify, you hold your ground. Silence also saves you the cost of regretting having said too much. Reacting immediately makes you predictable. Pausing makes you a strategist. You breathe, look at the bigger picture, and check if the conversation adds or drains you, and if it doesn't add, you close it. You don't react. You let the other person carry their own discomfort. You are not an emotional trash can for anyone. The manipulator's technique relies on your impulse. They need you to explain, get angry, or justify yourself. Without your reaction, they have no material. They reveal themselves, accelerate, raise their tone, and change the story. In that chaos, they are exposed. You, calm on the outside, lucid on the inside, gather data, patterns, keywords, inconsistencies, and mentally note them, not to take cheap revenge, but to do something colder and more effective, deciding who to deal with and who not to. The low voice wins the game. Deception isn't an accident, it's part of the terrain. People close to you will prioritize their convenience. Alliances will break when there's pressure. It hurts, but it shouldn't surprise you. People change according to interest, fear, or opportunity. Deception isn't a personal curse against you. It's an unsolicited reality report. Most people bleed out on questions that lead nowhere when faced with deception. You, on the other hand, read the report. You trusted more than you verified. You didn't set clear conditions. You gave access without merit. It's not guilt, it's diagnosis. Deception becomes your operational manual moving forward. No endless resentment, no epic speeches about betrayal. Just data. There's a mental shift that separates the unbreakable from the rest. You don't look for promises, you design contingencies. If that partner disappears tomorrow, what backup do you have? If that collaborator fails, how do you reorder the board in 24 hours? If that door closes, what other two did you have knocking? This isn't paranoia, it's foresight. Foresight makes deception not break you, it only redirects you. And when you redirect yourself without breaking, you become dangerous because you keep moving. There are two high-level responses to deception, both requiring coldness, total distance, or strategic patience. Total distance signifies cutting off access without dramatic scenes, statements, or final opportunities. It simply comes to an end, not out of pride, but for the sake of hygiene, a strategic patience that involves recognizing patterns, allowing individuals to expose themselves, and positioning them where their instability cannot influence your decisions. You don't need to destroy anyone. You just need to prevent them from destroying you, which is already a victory. Every disappointment is a blow to the metal. If you react with rage, the blow shapes it. But if you respond with calmness, the blow forges it. The metal hardens, defines itself, and becomes both a weapon and a shield. Your judgment improves, your selection of allies improves, and your radar distinguishes between appearances and character. You begin to see what others don't, not the speech, but the habits, not the promises, but the patterns, not the emotion of the moment, but the consistency over time. Being frequently disappointed is not always a bad sign. Sometimes, it's a symptom of progress. Mediocrity rarely provokes betrayals because there's nothing to gain. When you start to build, grow, and lead, tensions arise. Don't consider it bad luck, but rather an indicator that you are moving the game board. With each step, you refine. Refinement is power. Less noise, less ballast, fewer entry points for harm. Apply a simple ritual whenever something hurts you. Pause, write 3 lines: what happened, what pattern it confirms, and what you will do differently from now on. Don't seek emotional justice, seek strategic precision. Change permissions, change accesses, change expectations, and move on. The march doesn't stop due to a stumble. It adjusts and accelerates. Perhaps someone will say this is cold. Yes, and that coldness protects you. You don't stop feeling. You stop being manipulated by what you feel. You don't stop trusting. You stop trusting blindly. You don't stop collaborating. You stop exposing yourself without backup. That's the maturity that would be requested, acting with reality, not with fantasy. One who accepts reality operates with an advantage because they play the game that really exists, not the one they wish for. Observe what happens when you combine strategic silence with a lucid reading of disappointment. Conflictive people are left without a script with you, and painful events become your training. You are no longer a prey that reacts. You are a hunter who chooses. You are no longer the one who runs to explain. You are the one who walks to decide. And when you decide from calmness, your presence weighs more than 1,000 words. You start to command respect without asking for it. And this combination becomes fuel for the next level. You don't discuss with critics, you silence them with results, and learn to care for your reputation as if it were a castle. But first, anchor this in your mind. If pain teaches you and silence protects you, you are lighter, faster, more difficult to reach. You are elevated ground, and from elevated ground, you command because no one can stop you if you don't give them a handle. No one can break you if your center doesn't depend on applause or others' apologies. No one can stop you if your steps don't wait for permissions. You've started from within, armored your mind, turned silence into an advantage, and disappointment into wisdom. What comes now will sharpen the edge of your advance, and when excellence speaks, voices against you disappear. Your name, well cared for, opens doors before you touch them, because you've learned to protect your mind, use silence, and transform disappointment into strength. Now, it's time to sharpen a different weapon, not to fight with your critics or try to convince them, but to silence them with something they cannot deny: your results. Most people discuss, defend, and justify. You don't. Each time you fall into the trap of discussing with someone who will never respect you, you elevate them to your level. It turns you into its equal. Why waste time explaining to those who have not built anything? Machiavelli knew this well. Complaint never defeats fortune, only sustained action. Repeated excellence can silence all voices. What actually silences the critic is not your arguments, but the forcefulness of your achievements. If you work with discipline and constancy, every word they say becomes empty. Noise dies in the face of evidence. And here is the key. It's not about doing something perfect once, but creating a pattern that nobody can ignore. Consistency kills doubt. Mediocrity speaks. Excellence does not need to speak because it shines alone. When your results start speaking for themselves, something happens. Criticism changes form. They no longer attack you by saying you can't. Now they say your success was luck. They no longer deny your achievements. Now they try to minimize them. Do not be confused. This change is not defeat. It's proof that you advanced. And your task is not to lower yourself to explanations, but to maintain the pace. Make your process so solid that every advance becomes inevitable. Inevitability is the true answer, but excellence is not self-sustaining. It needs armor. That armor is your reputation. Do not think of reputation as superficial fame. Think of it as an aura that walks before you, Reputation opens doors before you knock. It prepares the ground so that your word has weight. Most leave it to chance. You direct it, care for it. Build it with every gesture, with every limit, with every delivery. People judge you in the first seconds, in your posture, in your way of speaking, in your way of holding silence. That early judgment determines how they treat you later. If you convey firmness and clarity, perception works in your favor. If you convey insecurity, perception works against you. And perception, as Machiavelli taught, matters more than intention, because most judge more by the eyes than by the hands. Your reputation is fed by three things. The first is your presence. You don't need to be the one who speaks the most, but the one who is most sustained, the one who enters a space and does not rush to explain who they are. The second are your limits. Every time someone tries to cross them and you respond with clarity, your reputation grows. The third is your consistency. If you are a different person according to the occasion, nobody will trust you. But if you are firm in both good and bad times, then your name starts to mean something real. Reputation is a castle. If you don't protect it, others will tell stories about you that are not true. And those stories will grow if you rush to deny them, because when you hurry to explain, you confirm that you care too much. The best way to defend your reputation is not by speaking, but by showing that your process speaks, that your rhythm speaks, that your way of sustaining yourself speaks. Then your critics will wear themselves out alone. And here comes the next thing. For excellence not to be an isolated accident, you must turn it into discipline. Discipline is what differentiates those who shine for a moment from those who remain. Most believe that excellence appears in important moments, a great meeting, a crucial opportunity, an instant where someone is watching. But true excellence is forged in the common days when nobody is looking. It's in how you get up when you don't feel like it. It's in how you choose to advance even in the uncomfortable. It's in how you treat those who can't give you anything in return. It's in how you handle the small annoyances of the day without losing control. That's where your true strength is measured, because anyone can sustain appearances on a special occasion. But only those who practice excellence every day manage to make it part of their identity. Discipline is not rigidity. It's not about living like a robot. It's about creating rituals that strengthen your character. Embracing discipline and acting upon your commitments, even when the inclination is absent, is crucial for completing tasks, despite the discomfort, and upholding your word, regardless of whether anyone is monitoring it. This self-discipline is what forges an unbreakable character. Comfort is the true adversary, as it induces lethargy, predictability, and vulnerability. The concept was foreseen by Machiavelli, who noted that fortune favors the disciplined. Life does not reward those who wait for the perfect moment. Instead, it rewards individuals who make preparation a habitual practice. Each day that discipline is chosen over idleness, power is accumulated. Every day that commitments are fulfilled rather than postponed, strength is gained. Prioritizing what is important over what is easy solidifies one's resolve. This accumulation is noticeable. Most people mock discipline because it makes them feel uneasy, labeling it as extreme or overly demanding, suggesting that one should relax. However, these are the same individuals who seek help when their undisciplined lives collapse. They opt for ease, while you choose necessity. They prefer pleasure, whereas you prefer durability. They choose comfort, but you choose excellence. When excellence becomes a lifestyle, it ceases to be a conscious effort and becomes an integral part of one's being. The process becomes a trademark, reputation serves as protection, and discipline forms the foundation that cannot be undermined. Critics lose their leverage because discussions are avoided. Allies and adversaries alike are aware of one's character, as reputation speaks for itself, and daily practices reinforce the system. At this level, one is no longer dependent on motivation, mood, or approval. Discipline is the sustaining force. Upon reaching this stage, everything falls into place. The inner self is transformed, the mind is fortified, silence is wielded as a weapon, disappointment is converted into strength, critics are silenced through excellence, reputation is carefully maintained, and discipline is ritualized. The final step is becoming unstoppable. Being unstoppable doesn't mean being devoid of fears or doubts. It signifies that external factors cannot cause one to falter. Criticism does not deter, betrayal does not shock, and failure does not paralyze. Instead, these are transformed into fuel. The core is no longer dependent on external validation. One becomes the master of their own destiny. As Machiavelli wrote, conquering oneself is more powerful than being a king. From this point on, no one can halt progress because the steps taken do not require permission. No one can break this fortitude because it is not dependent on others. No one can stop this discipline because it is stronger than any obstacle.